of the Why So Serious show on BlazeRadioOnline.com.
It is Thursday, and it is time for the Why So Serious show. I'm Jesse Morrison, alongside Evan Osherwitz, Mallory Schnell, and apparently senior correspondent Matt Kling, since he is the oldest member of the show.
It's my title now. It's my title now.
It is his title. He's a senior correspondent of nothing.
I am a part-time host, so that means you can call me a senior correspondent.
Yeah, but you're not like a White House correspondent. I guess you could be a senior correspondent of Vegas news.
I mean, these guys won again today.
Raise your hand if you're excited for a show without Jeremy.
I like Jeremy. I'm fine with being the odd one out
Jeremy
here.
too, but I got a chance to talk tonight.
Yeah, because he dominates the conversation almost as much as me. But we've got
Guess what he's doing right now, Jesse, if you had to take a guess.
He's either sleeping or talking to Marie.
He's watching his YouTube videos.
His own YouTube videos?
Sorry, put it on the poll. Is Jeremy, make sure to tag him, is Jeremy always watching his YouTube videos?
No, put on the poll. Is Jeremy either watching his YouTube videos, talking to Marie, or sleeping?
Don't put talking to Marie, but put
Talking to his girlfriend.
but he watches his YouTube videos, which are like the geekiest things in the world. They're 50-minute clips of people like building Madden franchises.
Okay,
No, he was watching FIFA when I went in
there. In Montana,
Same thing.
like, come on, like seriously, put that on the poll. Is there anything better to do in Montana than watch YouTube videos?
Yes, there's a lot better to do in Montana. Montana's actually pretty fun. Like, there's a lot of nature stuff to do. There's a really good restaurant. There's a couple of really good restaurants. There's a really good bagel place. Like, there's not that much. There's
and what are they? Like 50 miles apart from each other?
The hiking trails?
No, the bagel place and the restaurants.
No, they're all in a small little community.
I'm just
But let me tell you, we have a big story, a big follow-up from yesterday. So Jake Paul, obviously, he had the military raid, FBI raid, but it was like military-grade raid on his house. We have found out today via TMZ that raid was connected to him coming to Scottsdale and looting at Fashion Square. And then also they had to arm like that because of the potential of him, like anywhere that they're going that they know that there's those type of weapons present, they have to like dress like that, like armor and like come military style. So that was interesting. And then what is the really juicy scoop on this is that Jake Paul's friend, this guy Armani Azadi, who owns this graffiti house, which is like this house that changes like paint jobs all the time in Vegas.
It is the Barbie house right now.
Yeah,
and it's in Las Vegas.
Yes, and he
live.
This guy's house was raided yesterday as well, which kind of flew under the radar because Jake Paul is a bigger celebrity. But this guy has a bunch of dirt on him, like he was investigated for being a pimp, and then like the investigator of the pimp trial was like part of like was not actually doing his job right because he was in communication or sleeping with or whatever one of the prostitutes that I think that this guy was dealing with. So it's just a whole big thing. I think Jake Paul is going to end up going to prison for a few years. That's just my opinion. I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts?
I don't know about that, but one thing that I do want to point out is that we're all losing here because Jake wasn't home during the time of the raid. Think of how sick that vlog would have been if he had been at home when the 25 FBI agents armed to the teeth come into his house. That might be his best video, and we're missing out on it because he's in Vegas right now training for a boxing match. So
But who's he boxing? Because we know that Logan is boxing on the undercard of this Mike Tyson old man fight.
Roy Jones.
No clue.
Yeah.
But he is self-isolating in Vegas and ostensibly training for some sort of fight.
Is he really self-isolating? Like, does Jake Paul know how to socially distance?
I mean, that's what the article said. I can't confirm that. but I'll take his word for it.
So two things. One, Guy Fieri was also in Scottsdale that same night that Jake Paul decided to go looting, and the body cam video showed him like fist bumping some officers. Guy Fieri, this was a KPNX report the other night, KPNX 12 News in Arizona. But one of the people at the Barbie Mansion, aka the graffiti house in Vegas, spoke to the station that I work for, and they said they got there at 6 a.m. yesterday morning. There was a PA system, there were flashbangs. They did a search of the property, and they were looking for Paul, essentially, but Paul wasn't there. So
They were looking for Jake Paul?
they were looking for Jake Paul.
Wow.
Of course,
Because
they
he's
were.
in Vegas.
Well, we don't know.
We don't know. So is
like-
Jake Paul gonna have to be like go on the run? Like, is he gonna have to go to witness protection or something now?
I'm surprised he isn't in it already.
What a wild story. But is everyone as pumped as I am for the PGA Championship that happened today? Matt, are you excited?
I will tune in on Sunday. That's it. Maybe Saturday.
So let me just tell you, and I put this on the poll earlier today, Tiger has him right where he wants him. And let me show you why.
What's the leaderboard look like?
So here's our leaderboard of the PGA Championship. So we got these guys like Jason Day, Brendan Todd, Scotty Scheffler, Martin Keimer used to be good, Xander Schauffele, Bud Cauley, Zach Johnson hasn't won in forever. This is really his only threat right here. Brooks Koepka, Justin Rose.
He's going to win his third straight PGA Championship.
Brooks Koepka has a shot, but like all these other players, look at Tiger. He's -2 right here.
It's not bad.
He's going to be on the prowl tomorrow and Saturday.
As long as he does well tomorrow, he'll be on the prowl.
All these guys, really, come on. None of these guys have any shot with Tiger just chilling back here. He has him right where he wants him.
Well, first off, nice computer background.
Thank you. That just is one of my things that my computer does. It just generates the old background that I had. But the real story of today's PGA Championship was our guy Bryson DeChambeau. He happened to break his driver by just leaning on it a little bit, if we can find the video.
This might be it.
I do not think this is it, but there he is walking and explaining about it. But yes, he broke his driver just by leaning on it. There doesn't look like – it looks like the video has been deleted, which is unfortunate. But yes, he just kind of leaned on his driver and it broke. Luckily, that didn't count for him as a penalty. He got to go get a new shaft and attach it to his old driver head. But it was quite funny, and it led to, I believe, a lot of jokes about how he's so strong that after his big workout plan during quarantine,
He bulked up.
Yeah, he bulked up so that he broke his driver just by leaning on it. That was attributed to his extra strength that he put on. Yes. So yeah, PGA Championship, I am all in. Golf is such a great sport, as everyone here agrees. I love playing golf.
Almost everyone.
This is probably gonna get. It's probably gonna get me and the rest of everyone wanting to play golf, so that when we're all.
You're literally just you're pandering to your friend Max Beckholt. That's all I can say. Because he's the golf enthusiast of the show.
Evan, Mallory, Matt, you can come down from Vegas. Golf's pretty socially distant. Let's all play some golf.
I have a golf course right behind my apartment complex.
Yeah, but we gotta get a golf group going and.
I like Topgolf.
Mallory, put it on the poll. Do non-golf fans really like Topgolf?
Or mini golf. Topgolf and mini golf.
Yeah, put it on the poll. All right, well, NBA, the Suns are rolling still. They won by double digits. They beat a very good Pacers team, 114-99 today. Devin Booker, again, was very good, 20 points, 10 assists. DeAndre Ayton, 23 points, 10 rebounds. Suns might do this thing.
They need some help, though, because the Blazers keep winning, too. So even if they just stay undefeated, they might not make it because they're still a couple of games back, right?
I believe so.
2 games.
Yeah, and
Memphis.
honestly, the win was impressive because, like you said, the Pacers, good deep team. But I was even more impressed that they held NBA bubble MVP to this point, TJ Warren, to 16 points and 1 for 5 shooting from behind the arc. That was a very impressive defensive showing from the Suns today.
So their next game is against Miami. That's a tough one.
I don't know. I think the Suns are going to beat the Heat. I'm not confident.
I hope, Mallory, that you're okay with the Suns beating the Heat just in this instance because y'all are good. Y'all are making the playoffs. We want the Suns and the Heat to make the playoffs. The Thunder is a very difficult matchup. The Thunder have surprised everyone this year. Sixers is a little bit easier now because it looks like Ben Simmons is going to be out for a very long time, maybe the rest of the season with a knee injury.
Bring out Shake Milton. Shake Milton is going to surprise some people. I saw the guy play in college at SMU. He's the real deal, and he had some 30-point games this season.
Mallory, put it on the poll. Is Shake Milton going to surprise some people?
Well, look, I will say, based off some stats I saw, the Sixers are better without Ben Simmons on the floor. And I can tell you firsthand, Ben Simmons can't play defense. So losing him may be a strength. I get it. He's an all-star. He can run out and have a triple-double, but the guy's
the most overrated player in the league.
He's one of the most overrated players.
The most overrated player in the league.
And which means you have to give more.
Him or Trae Young?
Who is
Trae Young was phenomenal this season. I don't know.
Yeah, he's great, but win some games. Luka's already winning games.
Who else does he have on that team? He's got John Collins and he's got Clint Capella, and that's it.
He had future Hall of Famer Vince Carter.
In the final year of his career, very forgettable, very ineffective player. Trae Young is very good. The Mavericks still won that trade on draft day, but Trae Young's a good player, not overrated.
Overrated. Heat, Thunder, Sixers, then they play the Mavs again, which I think the Mavs are going to be out for some revenge after that game from Sunday. So I don't know. I feel like the Suns could go 0-4 from this point, or they could go 4-0. I feel like they're either going 4-0 or 0-4.
There's no in between.
There's no in between.
Exactly. But I mean, all they need to do is finish within 4 games of 8th place to force a tiebreaker. So that's all you got to hope for. You got to hope Memphis keeps losing. You got to hope Portland loses, even though they've been winning, and that the Suns just stay with pace. And I mean, right now, looking at the records, San Antonio is basically the same. Granted, they have a different record. They won one fewer win and one fewer loss, but still, like they're sitting at essentially the same behind Memphis right now. So it'll be an interesting week and a half left of this quote unquote regular season.
Yeah, I think the bubble's been great. That's just my opinion. I think so far I've really enjoyed it. I'm so glad it's back.
Except for the Wizards.
You know what? I've watched like one quarter. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
You want to hear a funny statistic? Technically, the Wizards are now behind the Charlotte Hornets in the standings, and the Charlotte Hornets were not invited into the bubble. So by not being invited and playing 0 games, they actually jumped the Wizards in the standings.
Yeah. It is insane.
Well, that's a big problem because Michael Jordan, while he's the GOAT, is maybe the woat of ownership and general managing and whatever he does because he's the worst of all time.
You cannot say that when Robert Sarver is still an owner in the NBA. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. Robert Sarver's team is in the bubble and has Devin Booker. Michael Jordan drafted Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
And the Suns drafted Alex Len.
Oh, not really. I don't think Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
They drafted Dragan Bender. So,
yeah, but they also drafted Devin Booker as a steal.
Yeah, a broken clock is right twice a day. If you miss the playoffs,
Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, DeAndre Ayton, like those are all good picks.
DeAndre Ayton was a number 1 overall pick.
Mallory put on the poll, is Michael Jordan the woat of ownership?
I don't see how you can be the worst of all time when you're not even the worst current owner.
He's not the worst. Robert Sarver might be a better owner than Michael Jordan.
Just no.
What has Michael Jordan done better than Robert Sarver? Explain that to me, please.
Playoffs more recently?
Yeah, but the Suns are going to make the playoffs either this year or next year. The Suns are going to make the Suns have done way better with draft picks than Michael Jordan. I don't believe that Kemba Walker was. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that Kemba Walker was on Charlotte when Michael Jordan was the owner of the team. I don't think that Michael Jordan drafted him.
I'm checking this.
I think it was
not sure, Jordan. But I do know that the Suns have had higher draft positions than Charlotte almost every single year. Charlotte's been mediocre, so they have
drafted Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton. All very
Cam Johnson was an average player this year, and he's a late.
Have you seen him in the bubble? It's this year.
It's been 4 games. You can't base whether a guy is a successful draft pick after 4 games in a very, very extreme circumstance. And during the regular season, he didn't play big minutes, but when he did, he didn't really make it count. And he's much older than other guys in his draft class. So this is probably as good as he's going to get.
Michael Jordan acquired the Bobcats when they were known as the Bobcats in 2010.
I believe that was the year Kemba was drafted. So maybe I'm corrected on that one. Mallory, what do you think of the Heat game today?
It was very disappointing. I mean, the Heat were up by 28 at one point, and then the second half, the Heat had no offense, and Giannis and Middleton showed up in the second half and did what they do best. And I didn't really like Coach Spoelstra's attitude after the game. The reporters were
criticizing Spo. I love it. He's an overrated coach.
I'm a huge Spo fan, but I didn't like his attitude today. A reporter asked, what do you think about giving up that lead? And he said, well, it's not like we gave up 40. Well, you still gave up 28, so take some
They lost, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Okay. So Kemba Walker was drafted in 2011.
Okay.
So
Jordan did okay. I'll give him that one.
Yeah. Kid Gilchrist was the following year.
Yeah, and he was terrible.
He was not good. And then Cody Zeller was the year after that.
My point exactly.
Okay, who's worse, Dragan Bender or Michael Kidd Gilchrist? I'm pretty sure Kidd Gilchrist.
Dragan Bender, but you're focusing on one pick. I've given you 4 options that are better.
Josh Jackson.
Josh Jackson, the jury is still not out on him. I saw some really good Josh Jackson games.
For the Suns, was he an effective player?
For the Suns, sometimes.
Nope, not for a 4th overall pick.
Did you go to as many games as I did when he dropped 25?
Yeah, $5 student tickets. You're wrong, Jesse. It's plain and simple.
I'm just not. Jordan Sarver might be a better. I'm not even saying that he is, but I'm saying he might be a better owner than Michael Jordan.
Ask any Suns fan. That's all I'm gonna say.
Robert Sarver owned the team when they had Steve Nash and Shaq and went to the playoffs.
And that was almost 20 years ago. That was 15 years ago.
No, it was 12.
Steve Nash. The years they made the conference finals were
last year. Steve Nash was in Phoenix was 11-12.
Yeah, that wasn't their heyday, though.
Yeah, he was an all-star that year. But he went to the Lakers and got hurt. But he was still great, when he would play for the Lakers.
Okay, either way, it's been a decade. What has this team done in the last decade?
What has Jordan's team done? They made 1 playoff appearance as the 7 or 8 seed.
Let's move on.
This is going nowhere. These are the arguments.
That's why we're moving on.
By the way, the Charlotte Hornets went 48-32 in 2015-2016 on a team that had Kemba Walker, Nick Batum, Jeremy Lamb, Jeremy Lin, Kid Gilchrist. They lost to the Heat in 7 games in the first round that year.
Mallory, bubble life, please.
Not much, except for Shaq was everywhere today. Shaq was a virtual fan in a bunch of games. Let me pull it up. First, he was at the Suns game. Then he went to the Lakers, the Heat game. Here we go.
He supported all his former teams.
All new experience with Michelob Ultra.
I love him.
Let's see what else we got.
I love him.
Yeah, here's some more Shaq in another game.
I love him. That's why I put on the poll, is Shaq the best? And people didn't get the show. I think they thought that I was saying, is Shaq the best player of all time? And all I was saying was that Shaq is just the best human of all time.
No, he absolutely is.
Like, we love Shaq. He's so great. I had a bubble life thing, so I don't know if you all know that Pat Connaughton, before he couldn't throw out a first pitch, that's actually the worst first pitch of all time because he actually used to play baseball and was absolutely atrocious. But he was walking into the bubble today. He's on the Milwaukee Bucks. He used to be on the Baltimore Orioles, minor league. He played for Aberdeen, the low A short season. But currently, one of my favorite players, Trey Mancini, is battling stage 3 cancer. And this whole thing the whole slogan is fight because Trey wears number 16. So you can kind of put that into like the word fight.
Yeah.
So Pat Connaughton was walking into the bubble today, with his fight shirt on. It's hard to see in this light, but if you see there, it's
Nice.
got his fight shirt on. So
his hand in front of it too.
I was a big fan of him coming in with that shirt on to the bubble today. I thought that was a great gesture. We all hope that Trey Mancini gets better because he's one of the best. He's low-key one of the best hitters in the league. So we're hoping he gets better, and it's great support from the NBA guys. Mallory, do you have anything else from the bubble?
Nope.
No bubble life tweets today?
They weren't very good. No.
Bummer. We rely on them for content.
We steal their content.
Just getting used to the fact that these games are being played, and that there's so many of them that they don't care what the players are doing.
I like what the players are doing. That's the best content. The games are great.
That's the best content of the whole league. But unfortunately, it's right now a business time. But once the actual playoffs start, maybe we'll care more about what the players are doing off the court.
Mallory, put it on the poll. Are the NBA bubble games or the Bubble Life Twitter account, and make sure to tag them better. But the biggest news of the day, maybe across all sports, is the fact that the Miami Marlins completed a 4-game sweep of my Baltimore Orioles with basically half of their team, some taxi squad players, and some rejects that they signed or traded for, and that were just like hanging out doing nothing. So
give me the fact of the day sound, Jesse.
I will give you the fact of the day. That's a fine, by the way. My name is Jesse.
I almost called you Jeremy. I'm sorry.
All right, go.
The fact of the day, one of the facts of the day. Last year, the Marlins went 57-105. This year, they are 6-1 so far. They are the first Major League Baseball team to start 6-1 or better through 7 games after losing 105-plus games the previous season since the St. Louis Perfectos 7-0 in 1899.
Does that even count?
Yes.
I guess they had moved the mound back at that point. Like the mound used to be closer.
I'm going to do a quick research on who the St. Louis Perfectos were/are. That's a great.
I actually kind of like that name. That's
a great name. It is.
Yeah,
That's a bold statement to make for any sports team. If you have perfect in your name, you're just setting the bar way too high. Like, apparently they were 7-0, so that's not a bad place to start, but you can't stay perfect for your whole existence.
Yeah, what if their pitcher doesn't go 7-0 all the time? But, I mean,
So the Perfectos are Cardinals now.
This series drove me crazy.
Good name change.
This series literally drove me crazy. The fielding by the Orioles today was awful. The Orioles looked so good this weekend against the Rays, and they come in and just crap the bed, like I said yesterday. And I just today, like, they scored 7 runs and still lost. This was a classic Orioles loss today, where the offense looked pretty good throughout the whole game, but the pitching and the defense just let them up. I mean, we used to be really good at pitching and defense like 5 years ago, but now we're bad at that. But like, the hitting looked good. Hanser Alberto, Chance Sisco got involved. I think Anthony Santander hit a triple. We had a 2-home run game from Renato Nunez.
Hey, Jesse.
What's
Can
up?
you stop naming current players? Because I have names of this 1899 Perfectos team that are actually hilarious. Now, Cy Young is apparently on this roster.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's pretty
I actually
big.
know who that is.
Yeah,
There's an award named after him.
But have you ever heard of Cowboy Jones?
No.
How about Cupid Childs?
Cupid Childs?
Cupid Childs.
All right, keep going.
Tom Thomas.
Tom Thomas.
That sounds like a guy in the Marlins or the Orioles.
Like wrestling names.
Sounds like a
Cowboy
wrestling name or
Cowboy Jones and Cupid Childs sound like
it's Tom Thomas sounds like he's from the same family as Bull Bull.
I said Patsy Tebow, who was a player and the team's manager.
That doesn't surprise me.
1999. Fritz Buelow, Lou Krieger.
That guy sounds like a nowadays player.
OC, I'm not even going to pronounce the name, but the name Cupid Childs is just...
All of these guys had handlebar mustaches, I'm guessing, and they all hit, if you see the old baseball, they all hit like this, leaning forward with the bat like that.
So
and they choked up. All of them choked up because they were using 40-inch bats.
So Bobby Wallace was probably their best hitter. He hit .295 with 12 home runs and 108 runs batted in. Actually, the best average on the team was from Emmett Hedrick, who hit.
Sounds like a guy in 1899.
No, Jesse Burkett hit .396.
David Peralta Freight Train. Two.
Cy Young went 26 and 16.
Doesn't surprise me.
8.
That is far from being perfect. Did not live up to the team's name.
Yeah, he needed to go 36-0 with a 0 ERA. No hits, no walks, all strikeouts.
You're going to name the team the Perfectos, man. You might as well.
But I have another baseball fact of the day if you'd like to play the sound, please.
Do we need to talk about the Phillies game first?
Well, I'll segue into what I want to talk about the Phillies with this stats. So play the sound.
Hey, Travis, the fact of the day. We want it now. The fact of the day.
I have one more Marlins thing, but we'll circle back around to that.
Yeah, so, the Marlins and the Phillies, this was a Phillies stat, and I know this is going to be the same for the Marlins. Essentially, this actually was tweeted a few days ago. So the Phillies and hypothetically the Marlins are playing 57 games in 56 days. The last team to have that stretch of days in that amount of games in that amount of days was the 1998 New York Yankees from August 3rd to September 27th. Now they won the World Series that year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty impressive if they can squeeze that in. Now, the last time the Phillies did that, I don't know about the Marlins. They might have never done it before, but last time the Phillies did that was from August to September of 1983. In 1983, the Phillies won the National League pennant.
So what you're saying is that the Phillies are going to win the World Series this year?
Phillies or Marlins.
Or Marlins, yes. So I think that that's interesting. I don't think it's going to happen, and I was very angry that MLB posted Linsanity with the Marlins. There's only one Linsanity, and that is involving one Jeremy Lin, who lit the world on fire in 2011 or 2012, whenever that was.
But I wanted to mention the Phillies story. It doesn't have to do with the fact that JT Realmuto is the best catcher in baseball. The Marlins should have never traded him, and the Phillies should sign him to a long-term extension. But the fact that there are fans showing up to Phillies games and watching and cheering them on from beyond the outfield gates, and that some guy has brought an air horn and has been blasting it every inning during the games. It is glorious. Aaron Boone got really mad about it, had to talk to the umpires about it. Of course, air horns they can't be brought into stadiums, but he's not in the stadium, so it's fine if he blows an air horn. But
Good. I'm glad. And, of course, the Yankees complain about that because they're the hoity-toity Yankees. We have to have our clean-shaven face.
They lost 2 of 3 in Philadelphia. In one of those games, they were the home team.
Keeping the Orioles alive, the 5-7 Orioles, after being 5-3 heading into the week. Let's see what the Orioles do against the Nationals this weekend. I'm looking at 5-10. Woo. Mallory, did you watch any of these games?
No, but I know Jeremy did, but I just went into his room because I know he wanted to talk about it, and he's knocked out. So
He'll be awake in like 2 hours and up for the whole night. But we have a very funny video. I know that Jesus Aguilar, not Aguilera, because that's what the Orioles announcer keeps calling him, Aguilera, which is not true. That's Christina Aguilera. She's a pop star.
Aren't there like 5 Orioles announcers this year?
No, not for TV. TV is just Scott Garceau and Ben McDonald. Ben McDonald was a number 1 pick pitcher for us. That was okay. And then Scott Garceau has been, I guess, a radio guy for a couple of years. He doesn't do a very good job. I'm not going to lie.
Gary Thorne's not around.
Gary Thorne is around, but he's just not doing games for Masson this year because of COVID. Which, I don't know. Like, I've had a different, like, opinion on this. Like, isn't maybe a Major League Baseball park or the WNBA bubble maybe the safest place right now?
Yeah.
Especially like up in a press box or like, so I don't know, like maybe if I was one of these players with a pre-existing condition or something, maybe I would go because, now there's no like COVID cases there. And that it's like better than going to the store. So I don't know. But here, I'm going to share the screen to show you all how the Marlins celebrated. I do support this. As we know, Jesus Aguilar, he did the Zumba while he was waiting for games to resume. And here he is with a teammate. I don't know which teammate, but here we go.
Well, I'm glad they're making light of this whole situation. And now they have to play so many games in so many days.
Yeah,
Jesse, can you click on the profile picture there?
Gabby Sanchez?
What is he holding?
I'll show this again. Gabby Sanchez, who I didn't realize was not on the Marlins, even though he stopped playing for them in 2012.
Wait, he's a broadcaster for them now?
I guess he's like their sideline reporter. And here he is holding a broom because they swept the Orioles today, sweeping broom. And
Thanks for clarifying.
And apparently Jeremy says that means he gets the show. But yeah, so one more baseball thing. This is negative. I should have started with the negative and then gone to the positive. The Oakland A's thing that's going on right now.
Yeah,
bad. This guy should be fired, and I have no idea how this happened. Like, I have no idea how if he's telling the truth on that he wasn't intentionally making a Nazi salute, then I don't know. It looks like he was doing it.
But doing this, like,
he wasn't doing that. Watch it. I'll show you. Viewer discretion advised. Here we go. So this is the video of the Oakland A's bench coach today. And then if you see, like, look, he goes back and does it again. That's where I think that he knew exactly what he was doing. And look at, I don't know which player this is that comes by.
The player obviously knew.
Yeah, the player was like, pull that down.
That's bad. Liam Hendricks, the first guy.
Liam Hendricks, okay. But we'll move on. The Washington Capitals suck.
Golden Knights, though.
Okay, so let's do this in a more orderly fashion. We'll go in order that the games happened today. There were 5 games, and we'll lead up to those. So the first game of the day was a Western Conference qualifier, Vancouver, Minnesota, Game 3. Minnesota's going home tomorrow, guys. That's the impression I got from this game. Right out of the gate, it looked like it was going to be pretty even. They traded games 1 and 2, but Vancouver definitely had the upper hand. in the last game. The final score really didn't do it justice. And I just have to say, the lack of scoring depth for the Minnesota Wild is appalling. I mean, 5 of their 6 goals in this series have been scored by 2 guys. And one of those guys is Jared Spurgeon, who's a defenseman. He's got 2 goals. One of those is an empty netter. Kevin Fiala's got the other 3. And then Luke Cunnin has 1, which was a shorty. Other than that, no one has found the back of the net for Minnesota. Zach Parise, who's only halfway through that monster contract, no goals.
Still playing.
Yep. He's got 4 assists, so that's not bad. That's better than nothing. But when you're getting paid that amount of money for that amount of time and your contract still has 6 more years left, your team expects at least a goal out of you. And Matt Zuccarello, their big free agent signing, he's got no points in 3 games. So that's not good. And today it was all Vancouver after the early going. They got a power play. Besser scored on that. They've been waiting for that power play to wake up all series. It finally did today. And Vancouver cruises to an easy win, 3-0. Alex Stalock was good again, but he's getting absolutely no help out there. And you could tell the Wild were frustrated by the end of this game. They were taking some bad penalties. And I think tomorrow they're going to get run out of the building. Vancouver looks like they're in control of this series. And tomorrow's game should be ugly. So then after that, we had a showdown between the Flyers and Caps, round-robin game. Jesse's team versus Klinger's team. Brian Elliott was in net. One of Klinger's teams, sorry, I should say.
Yeah.
Brian Elliott was in net for Philly. They're giving Carter Hart some rest. They won their first game against Boston pretty easily, so it was no big deal. They get to try out both netminders, see what they got. Washington lost their first game to Tampa in a shootout, so they needed the points more.
They looked good in that game.
Right. And this one was, I think, a lot slower than a lot of people would have imagined. Both teams were really good at keeping the play to the outside, just waiting for the right chance. And Philly scores first. Scott Laughton gets on the board. Beautiful feed there from Travis Konechny after a Radko Gudas turnover behind his own net. And I have to say, John Carlson did not play in this game for Washington. They need him back as soon as possible because this blue line without him is just not good enough. There were a lot of bad turnovers in the D zone for Washington today. They weren't the only team that had trouble with that. We'll get to that later. But they need Carlson back in a big way. And I have to say again, that second line for Philadelphia, Kevin Hayes, Scott Laughton, Travis Konechny, that line's going to be a problem in these playoffs because they had all 3 goals for the Flyers today and they were dominant the whole way through. Jesse, you have something to say?
Yeah, okay. So first off, too many penalties in the second period for the Caps. Holtby did play well in this game. This game could have been like 6-1. He made some really good saves. Not his fault that they lost. And then the third period, this could be a what are we doing, but I'm not going to make it my what are we doing because my team got swept by the Marlins taxi squad. But they didn't get a shot on goal to their first goal of the game in the third period until the 11-11 mark. That's like over 8 minutes without a shot on goal. It was absolutely atrocious. The NBC broadcasters were like, "Oh, that's their first shot on goal! Wow!" And so
it's not like Philadelphia was peppering Holtby with shots either.
No,
Flyers only had 21 shots the whole game. Washington had 17. But Philly was very opportunistic, and whenever that second line was on the ice, it seemed like they were getting high danger chances. The second goal especially, I don't know what Washington's defense was doing on that. It was a nice pass from Hayes, but Sanheim was pinching from his blue line spot, got behind everybody, and made a really nice move to beat Holtby, and that ended up being the game-winning goal.
That power play, though, in the third by the Caps they had right after their goal, I thought, that they got a score there, and they had a bunch of chances, but the goalie for Philly, you're going to have to tell me his name again because he's backup.
Brian Elliott.
Cool face mask, by the way. I really like the face mask.
Yeah, no. Brian Elliott.
But yeah, Brian.
He did play well, but again, only 17 shots for the Capitals, and they end up breaking through in the third. Jacob Vrana gets a goal, nice goal there, but they were having trouble getting shots through that defense for Philly. Philly was blocking a ton of shots, and on the power play especially, the Caps were missing the net wide a lot. Alex Ovechkin really not a factor in this game at all. He had 2 shots on net. And Jesse and I were talking about this. We both noticed that Ovechkin just looks a little bit slower than we're used to seeing.
He's 34, almost 35. He's going to lose He's going to not be himself soon. This is the last chance for the Caps. I've said that. I think the Caps are the equivalent of the 2011 Dallas Mavericks, where they went to the playoffs a bunch. They never got it done, and then they got it done that one year when it was like the last chance for them to get it done. Then they're going to be good for a couple more years after that, like they've been, and then they're going to have to rebuild, and then they'll be good in a few more years with a whole different group. But this Backstrom, Ovi, Holtby, Kuznetsov,
Evgeny Kuznetsov's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
but still
only like 28.
He's under contract forever. Yeah. Oshie's not going anywhere either. Vrana's still young.
How old do you think Oshie is?
They have pieces on this team.
Oshie's almost 34, bro.
Yeah, and he's under contract for like 6 more years.
Yeah, and he might
not going anywhere.
Yeah, but they might need to, build more other pieces that are younger, and yeah, they might keep those guys around, but they might be rebuilding still with those veterans on the team. That can happen in any sport.
I don't think this is their last chance, and this might have been because of the tight checking from the Flyers, but I couldn't help but notice today when Ovechkin was on the rush and trying to enter the ozone, in a situation where he would have just carried the puck in, he was dumping it in and just skating off for a change or dumping and chasing. That's not what we're used to seeing from him. And again, it might just be because there wasn't a lot of room out there. The Flyers were keeping him in check. But it does look like he's a step slower, and that could be a problem for Washington in these playoffs. But moving on to the next game, which I'm sure Klinger is really eager to talk about. The Golden Knights, still undefeated in round-robin play. They took down the defending champs today. And honestly, both of Vegas's wins have been very unimpressive, in my opinion. This was a game today that I didn't think either team deserved to win. Marc-Andre Fleury, not a great game. Not a great game. I'm going to say that right away.
He passed prime too.
It was especially not a great game in the early going. St. Louis gets a power play early. Vegas was controlling the shots the whole way through. They jumped on the Blues early, but they take a penalty. David Perron makes them pay. And then they add another one right after that. Colton Parayko does it all himself, just skates down the ice and gets a pretty bad goal past Fleury, I thought. So the Golden Knights would fire back. Alex Tuch had a really good game, and it was just really sloppy the whole way through for both teams. I got to say, a lot of bad turnovers in the Vegas zone. Nate Schmidt, I thought, had a rough game today. He did get a couple points, but he needs to take better care of the puck than he was doing. And overall, I think Vegas has made it a habit of outscoring their problems, but you're not going to be able to do that in a best-of-7 playoff series.
Well, that's the thing, is Vegas their strong suit has been playing better when they're down in the game. And this was the third time this calendar year that they did that against St. Louis. They
That's
did
true.
Twice in Vegas, once in January, once in February, and they did that today. They also came from behind on Monday against Dallas.
Right.
But I will say, and I was
but
just
they can't keep doing it. That's the thing. If you get behind in every game, you're not going to come back in every game. It just doesn't work like that, especially in the playoffs. And if you're playing a team that's playing better defensively than St. Louis is right now. Bennington, I thought, was really good in the first period, but eventually he was just facing so many shots that he couldn't stop all of them. And St. Louis was taking a lot of bad penalties too. The first Alex Tuch goal, they challenged for goalie interference. They lost the challenge. That led to a power play. Vegas scores on the power play, so that allows the Knights to take the lead. And I just
where did Mallory go?
I just thought it was a really sloppy game overall for both teams.
Yeah. Look, I will say that the Golden Knights are, I would say, a little bit inconsistent, but they're a deep team, and they're missing Max Pacioretty, who is their best scorer. So
what happened to Mallory guy?
And there is something to be said about the fact that the two meetings during the regular season were both high-scoring affairs. The game in February was 6-5. Zach Sanford had 4 goals in that game for the Blues, and Vegas still won.
Yeah.
But I just thought there were a couple of really soft goals on Fleury today, especially Colton Parayko's second goal, that wraparound. Fleury bit really hard on that fake, and he didn't get a lot of help from the defenseman either. Somebody should have covered the far post there. But again, there's some worrying signs.
As someone who kind of followed Fleury for a while because I grew up a Flyers fan, essentially. I still am a Flyers fan, but, Fleury is one of the most hit or miss goalies ever. He'll either pitch a shutout or give up 5 goals. That's all I got to say.
That is a true statement. He is the definition of mercurial. He's had some amazing runs in the playoffs and some other times where his starting job has been called into question. And I think if you're Peter DeBoer, you have a true decision to make here. I mean, Fleury was good in the exhibition game against the Coyotes, but they're known as a team that doesn't score a whole lot.
Yeah.
And
Look, Saturday, Leonard has to be in goal. Leonard has to be in goal on Saturday. The Avalanche have dominated Vegas this year. And
the crazy thing about this is we're talking about how they're not playing great defensively, how their goaltending's been kind of shaky, but they could still get the number 1 seed.
Of course they will. Of course they can, yeah.
Were there any more games today?
Yeah, there are 2 more games. The Flames just won 2-0. The Jets suck. We don't need to talk about that, but I want to hear about how bad the Maple Leafs are.
Okay,
how chivalrous they are.
So this was the best game of the day by far. And this series, I think, has been criminally underrated. Through the first 2 games, they traded shutouts. There's not a whole lot of scoring going on, but the goaltending's been excellent. And both teams have just shown a whole lot of fight. So at the start, it was pretty even. Shots were 5-4 for Columbus, I think 5 minutes in.
Jackets.
Yeah, play was pretty even, it looked like. But one thing I noticed right away was that Korpisalo, who was excellent through the first 2 games, looked a little bit off his game early. He didn't give up an early goal, but the puck just wasn't sticking to him like it did in games 1 and 2. He was allowing some rebounds that drifted out into the slot, which is not where you want him to go. Ideally, you deflect him into the corners, so there's no opportunity for a second chance shot. And he just looked a little bit off to me. So Columbus gets a power play in that first period, about halfway through, and their power play is awful. They were 0 for 6 through the first 2 games. Toronto was also 0 for 6, but Columbus barely managed any shots on theirs. And obviously, for a team that lacks depth up front, that doesn't have a lot of skilled forwards, your power play is going to suffer because of that. They do have the 2 studs on the blue line, Werenski and Jones, who played a big role today. But their power play looked awful. They had a hard time getting it set up. The Leafs go down the ice. There's a bit of an echo. Sorry about that. So Cody Ceci takes a shot from the offensive blue line for Toronto. It goes off Seth Jones's shin pad and past Korpisalo. 1-0 Toronto. The Blue Jackets are obviously shocked by this. So they go into the break 1-0. And you could tell coming out of the dressing room, they were still a little bit off, I think, from that goal, because you never expect a weird one to go in like that. They give up an early power play to Toronto. Nylander scores on the power play. And then a couple minutes after that, Nick Robertson gets his first NHL goal. Not a great goal for Korpisalo. And he ends up getting pulled. I thought the first one was a fluke. Second one, bad penalty killing. The third one, you really can't give up. It's from a bad angle. I know Leafs fans love to talk about how great Robertson is at shooting the puck, but it's 3-0 Toronto. So Tortorella decides to make a goaltending change. Merzlikins is in. Korpisalo comes out. And almost right away, Columbus starts to play better. It was scary. The second Merzlikins is in between the pipes, it looks like a brand new hockey team. They get a power play late in the period. Pierre-Luc Dubois, he's been snake bit all series. He got shoot out by Tortorella on the bench in game 2. Obviously frustrated through the first 2 games. Comes through in a big way right at the end of the power play, right as Barry's coming out of the box. And Columbus has life. It's still 3-1 heading into the third, but Columbus was really starting to take control of the play at that point. And they make it 3-2 a couple minutes into the third period. Seth Jones, we've been waiting for him to break through all series. He played 32 minutes tonight, Seth Jones, almost 2 full periods of hockey. It was pretty clear coming into the series they were going to need to lean on their 2 big defensemen, and they've done that. Seth Jones with his first goal of the playoffs. And then Dubois gets another one towards the end of regulation. So the collapse is complete for Toronto. They've blown another 3-goal lead in the playoffs, just like they did against Boston in Game 7 in 2018, just like they did against Boston in Game 7 in 2013. They love blowing 3-goal leads in the playoffs, these Maple Leafs. And
don't Habs fans hate Leafs fans?
yeah, Montreal Toronto is the oldest rivalry in the league.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Toronto really started to show some urgency late in regulation because of course they had to, or Columbus was going to totally embarrass them and win this one in regulation. They made it interesting late. That last minute and a half was really intense. It even got my heart pounding, and I'm not a fan of either team. So we go into overtime, and coming into overtime, the Leafs had the early edge. They were firing on all cylinders, but Merzlikins was making sure that Columbus stayed in the game. And about 10 minutes into the overtime period, Columbus really started to push back. Eventually, it's Dubois with the hat trick, wins it in overtime. This, for me, like I said, was the best game of the playoffs so far. I think there was 2.5 minutes left when that goal went in. And my goodness, like what a collapse for Toronto. And what a night for Dubois, too. Like, good for the kid. He bounced back. There's a lot of pressure on him. He's the main guy there now that they don't have Panarin or Duchesne anymore. And he came through in a big way. So Toronto has to come back tomorrow, less than 24 hours after they just played almost 4 full periods of hockey and blew a 3-goal lead in their own building. I expect this to be a really sluggish game tomorrow. Both teams are going to have some heavy legs. And if you're the Leafs, I don't know how you come out tomorrow and win, because this has to just be so demoralizing. You're on home ice. Columbus was technically the home team for this one, but it's in your barn, and you come out and lay the biggest of eggs. So I don't like the Leafs' chances tomorrow. We'll see what happens. But overall, that was a great game.
Yeah.
Really got the blood flowing. And the last game of the night, this just ended a few minutes ago, was Calgary and Winnipeg, game 4. Let's be honest, this game was over before it started.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. The Jets looked completely overwhelmed in game 3, and that really carried over into this game. Calgary got a power play goal pretty early in this one, or it wasn't a power play goal, sorry. It was a even strength goal from Dylan Dubé. It was
Hold on just a second. I was playing the Undertaker music because of the Leafs. It's probably over for them tomorrow, So I brought in the Undertaker theme song.
Okay, well, either way, the net front defense for the Winnipeg Jets was terrible on this goal. Dubé had 4 or 5 chances to hammer this puck home after the initial shot. No one tied his stick up. And as soon as that goal went in, you knew it was over. I mean, Winnipeg just looked completely overwhelmed in this game. And they started to push back a little bit towards the end of that first period. But then with 0.3 seconds left, Sam Bennett scores to make it 2-0.
Wait, hold up. Was this game Flames versus Jets?
Yes.
So the 2 Atlanta teams?
The 2 former Atlanta teams, yes. And I thought Winnipeg was going to win this series. I'm going to be real, before all the injuries happened. But I really shouldn't be surprised, because in a best of 5, the old Jets record against Calgary, the initial Winnipeg Jets, because back in the
Coyotes,
80s,
you mean?
the team that's now the Coyotes but used to be the Jets, met up against the Flames a lot in the first round back in the 80s when they were both in the Smythe division. First round was best of 5 back then, and more often than not, Calgary had their number. So this is more of the same if you're a Winnipeg fan. So it's 2-0 after the first period. That Bennett goal really took the wind out of Winnipeg's sails, whatever was left. And in the second period, they looked defeated. Calgary controlled the play through the entire period almost. They had 19 shots in that period alone, and Hellebuck stopped all of them. Hellebuck was really trying to keep them in it. He's had a rough series after a great regular season, but he could only carry this team so far. So there's no scoring in the second period. And at the start of the third, you could tell it was do or die for the Jets. I mean, their backs are against the wall. They've got to get 2 goals or their season's over. And they came out flying. Ehlers had a couple of nice chances there at the start of the period. I think he was their best forward this whole series. And they took a penalty. Kulikov high-staked Matthew Tkachuk. It was a bad penalty, 200 feet from his own net.
Matty T.
Yeah, you hate those if you're a coach. And again, it just killed any momentum that the Jets had. And they put the pressure on through the rest of the period. but they just couldn't score on Talbot. And honestly, if we're talking about who the better goalie was in this series, I think Talbot outdueled Connor Hellebuck. And Hellebuck didn't get a lot of help from his blue line. That's been a story all year with Winnipeg. We talked about how they lack depth on the back end. But honestly, Talbot was better this series. And they couldn't score on him, so they pulled the goalie with 3 minutes left. Almost immediately, Sean Monahan gets the empty netter. Game over, series over, season over for Winnipeg. And they would add another empty net goal after that.
I like their uniforms. I wanted them to stay. Well, I like the Flames uniforms too. I don't
Yeah.
know whose uniforms I like more.
If
And
we're
so
being
now
honest,
Winnipeg has a 1 in 8 chance of winning the first pick in
Mallory,
the
put it on the
NHL.
poll. Better uniforms: the Winnipeg Jets or the Calgary Flames?
that's easy. Winnipeg. Their logo, the crest on the jersey. Is
Yeah, but the
beautiful.
Flames have got like a cool like flames thing.
What, the flaming sea? It's a
Yeah.
letter with fire on it. You
Yeah,
think
but it
that's
looks cool.
cooler
I
than
think
what
you-
Winnipeg's
Put
got
it on
going
the
on?
poll, Mallory.
But okay, on a more serious note, we knew this series was lost the moment Mark Scheifele went down in game 1.
Scheifers.
Without him, Winnipeg might have the weakest center depth in the league. I love Andrew Kopp. He's a good heart and soul guy, but he's the furthest thing from a number one center. And you look at their other top players after Scheifele and Laine went down. Blake Wheeler, love him, great leader, great captain, 1 assist in 4 games. Kyle Connor, no points in 4 games. This guy had 73 points in the regular season, 38 goals, didn't get on the board in this series. Ehlers, he was pretty good, had 2 goals, but they really just needed more from their top players after they lost Scheifele and Laine. They didn't get it. We knew the blue line was going to be an issue, and Hellebuck, I feel like he tried his best, but at the same time, if you're up for the Vezina Trophy, you need to come through in the playoffs. You need to elevate your team, and he didn't do that. So Winnipeg's going home. Thankfully, it's a short flight from Edmonton to Winnipeg, so they won't have to, headbutt themselves too much after this one. But overall, just a frustrating season for the Jets. And honestly, I hope they get the number 1 pick, because it would be nice to see something good happen to this team for once.
I like their fans and their uniforms, but I voted Flames just because the Flames emoji has the C with the flames. So like that when you put the hashtag. So I like that. Mallory, did you watch any hockey today?
No, I did not.
Wow, that's a first in this entire 5-day stretch or whatever, 6-day stretch.
I woke
Another
up
thing-
and the Heat game was on and watched that and then went to dinner. So yeah.
Another thing I want to say about this series is a lot of people are going to count out Calgary in the first round because of what happened last year against Colorado. It seems like just about every player in their lineup scored a goal in this series. They didn't have to rely on any one guy like last year. Everyone was expecting Johnny Gaudreau to go off in that series. He was darn near invisible, but they really came together as a team. They had that scoring by committee that you need if you want to go deep in the playoffs. Even Lucic had a goal in this series, and that's saying a lot. Everyone played a role in this series win for Calgary. There were no passengers, and I honestly like their odds of winning around this year.
What are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing?
What are we doing? What are we doing?
I'll go ahead and start. My what are we doing is the Baltimore Orioles. I've already talked about it. They got swept by the Miami Marlins taxi squad and some hangers on free agent guys. So that was a big what are we doing. The first 3 games especially were absolutely atrocious. They at least should have gotten today's game, but that's really all I have to say. I'm frustrated. Mallory, you're next.
Jimmy Butler is being very secretive and not playing games. So, Jimmy Butler, what are you doing? Your team needs you.
What are we doing?
My what are we doing?
No, go Evan.
Okay, so my what are we doing is Toronto Maple Leafs fans on Twitter. I don't think I've ever come across a more obnoxious group of people in my life. And I'm not exaggerating here. I was monitoring chat on Twitter from Leafs fans throughout their game today against Columbus. And the amount of focus that was put on Travis Dermott's hair because of his intermission interview on Sportsnet was ridiculous. And I thought it was hilarious because literally like 10 minutes after all these Leafs fans were simping over how good his hair looked and how he really stepped up in the first period because he tackled Dubois on what totally should have been an interference
Breaking
penalty.
news. Hold up. Interruption. I did not see this from 6 hours ago. I have no idea how we didn't lead with this, but J. Cole was offered a tryout by the Detroit Pistons. That is, why didn't we lead with that? And what is going on?
Who cares? The Pistons suck.
But they're literally offering like non-NBA players. They offered a rapper a contract.
Okay,
They're
so
really inept as a franchise.
Didn't do that a few years ago, but go ahead.
all right. So I'm going to count on you to edit out the first part of my What Are We Doing since you cut me off. As I was saying, my What Are We Doing is Toronto Maple Leafs fans on Twitter. I don't think I've ever met a more annoying group of people in my entire life. The obsession that Leafs fans have with absolutely mediocre players fascinates me. Today, the focus was on Travis Dermott because he tackled Dubois in the first period. They hate Dubois, obviously, because of what he did tonight and because he cross-checked Jake Muzzin in game 2. But it should have been an interference penalty. They were applauding him for that. Apparently, his hair looked good in the intermission report. I don't care because in the second period, he got caught pinching on Dubois, or it was the third period. Whatever. He gets caught pinching. Dubois scores the tying goal. Leafs fans look dumb. End of story. And also, they're obsessing over Nick Robertson right now. He did get his first goal today. Good for the kid. I have nothing against him. But next season, if this kid gets off to a slow start, they're going to be bashing him and calling him a bust. So Leafs fans, you just make no sense ever. What are you doing?
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Kling, what's up?
Mine's hockey related in the sense that my What Are We Doing goes to the governor of this state of Nevada. His name is Steve Sisolak. And on Monday night, he decided to have a COVID-19 press conference at 5 p.m. while the Golden Knights game was on. Today, he decided to have another press briefing, but this time at 3 p.m. before the Golden Knights game was on. Now, a bit of a difference is Monday night. First off, guess who produces the 5 o'clock news in Las Vegas? Yeah, exactly. Usually Monday to Friday. I took today off because we had one early newscast. It was at 3 o'clock because Major League Baseball's on Fox on Thursdays, starting at 4 o'clock. So the governor knew all 4 channels would have news on at 3, and there was a Golden Knights game on, so he could just decide willy-nilly. The only newscast that our station was doing today, why not just do a 30-minute news conference? I feel bad for the producer that had to do today's show. I'll just leave it at that. But Governor Sisolak, why don't you do these press briefings in the mornings? Like, we can cut into whatever crappy daytime programming's on. No, or shall I say, great daytime programming that's on, because daytime television is the best television in the world. But Governor Steve Sisolak attracted.
You wouldn't say that. At least
What?
He's not the mayor.
Whatever.
I mean, he was the mayor. If you want to watch the mayor's interview with Anderson Cooper, that was shocking.
That was like 4 months ago.
Yeah, but
okay?
it's still a
That was
shocking.
a long time ago.
It's extremely shocking.
I don't want to talk about that. I talked about that on this show back when I think it was The Bachelor Listen to Your Heart was on.
I missed that show. That's my favorite Bachelor thing they've ever done.
That was
so good. I love it. I really wanted Jamie to come on our show, but she never responded. Because she's in my age range, and I could have said, hey, like, I like country music. I know you do too. So like we can be, a thing, and like I can take you on better dates than that guy did to the Knights game. But like whatever.
Trevor,
I won't cheat on you, I promise. Jamie,
by the way, yes, about daytime programming. you probably can guess it is. Some of it is laughable, but there was this one show that airs, not on our channel, but on another channel. It's called Personal Injury Court, and it's a court show. So obviously, it's not 100% true. It may be based off of
Judge Judy retiring.
a couple years, but. I'm going through the guide now. I'm just gonna give you the description for tomorrow's one. So the case is called Underwood versus Thornton. A delivery man loses his arm after a rotting tree falls on him during a rainstorm, leading him to sue the homeowners for $1.8 million. That's actually an interesting case. But the one I watched a few months ago was a guy was in the wrong area of the batting cages, and someone hit a ball and it hit him in the family jewels, and he decided to sue, but he lost because he was in an area that he was not supposed to be in. So, but anyway, there's better TV on at nighttime or on streaming, depending on streaming. So I watched Big Brother last night while you guys did the show.
Okay, we're going to go into that, but quickly on Judge Judy, she is threatening to eat her contract currently. There's some lawsuit being filed against her, and she wants to eat her contract, so on live TV. So you can read about that if you want to look it up. But Mallory's got the floor. She's not gotten to say enough today because I want her to talk about the what is going on in Big Brother land today, and then I want Matt's thoughts on it. I didn't get around.
Yeah, we can start with Matt's thoughts from last night.
Okay.
We did a full recap already, but yeah, just your thoughts.
Yeah, so one, I remember watching it back when I was younger. Well, shall I say, when I say watching it, I mean my mom watched it. I remember it was on the television. I realized it's a competition show. I thought that there was a lot of like hooking up and lovemaking and whatnot. Baby. But there's like 2 or 3 single people in this all-star cast. Everyone's married, so I don't know what the drama will be besides like cheating in competitions and whatnot, or people just straight up hating each other because they act crazy. But just based on who I liked a lot of the competitors, I will say that, and that's all I'll say.
You have a favorite?
No, not right now.
You know who has a favorite? The country band Old Dominion, 7 number ones on the country charts. From 2 of their members are from a county outside my hometown. Old Dominion, they tweeted meow meow if you were listening.
That's Enzo.
Yes.
The only way I'll remember Enzo is that my station has a reporter named Enzo.
So the live feeds went live last night around 3 a.m. Eastern. Spoiler alert, if you don't want feed updates, this is what is happening now. There was a competition today, a brand new competition. It has to do with earning safety. You can choose whether to compete in it or not. And it's kind of, showing your cards, because if you choose to compete in it, it's like you don't trust who the head of household is and you feel like you need to get your safety. Apparently only 2 people played in this competition today out of the whole house. Janelle and Kaysar. Kaysar ended up winning and chose Janelle as his +1 to keep safe, which is actually very good for them because they were the ones who were probably going to end up on the block this week. There's actually already been some drama. There's been crying, so, we don't need the showmances for that. There will still be drama. There's been alliances forming. They're already working on an all-guys alliance because that always happens every year, but no all-girls alliance yet. Still waiting for that. So that's what happened today in Big Brother world.
Nice. Well, I may watch it. There's been a lot of sports on, so like I'm kind of in the middle of watching Better Call Saul, and so when I'm not watching sports, I'm watching Better Call Saul. So, Mr. Kling, you watched The Muppets?
I did not watch the movie The Muppets, and I It's on that movie, The Muppets, the one where the guy sings, "Am I a man or am I a Muppet?" I want to watch that, and I will try to watch that at some point this weekend. It's on Disney Plus. But Muppets Now is the new Muppets show on Disney Plus, and it is. Well, and I'm just going to read you, and this will be the summary of the show. This is a Mashable headline from last week. I'm not sure who Muppets Now is for, but I think weed is involved. Yeah. There was one segment where
Jim Henson just rolled over in his grave.
There was this one so it's what it's supposed to be. It's some digital show where it's a bunch of different shorts that all these Muppets do. Like there was this one with the Swedish chef, quote unquote, cooking. And of course he isn't cooking. He's like, that's my Swedish chef.
We need Henrik Lundqvist to come in and translate that.
Might be available soon.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna
No, he is available. The Rangers lost.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't think he's gonna be playing hockey after this year.
Wow.
But
I'm not the only person who's saying that. Like, if you saw the New York Daily Post back page today, it's basically saying he's done.
Good. He can just
Not coming back to play for the Rangers, and I can't see him playing for another team.
He can go to his second job of Swedish chef translator.
So, and then one of the other shows was Kermit trying to do a one-on-one interview with RuPaul, but all of the other Muppets that were in the background of the room kept coming forward and interrupting the interview. And
that sounds terrible.
Look, I watched the Muppets a few years ago when they had a sitcom on ABC when they were putting on a late night show that Miss Piggy hosted. And this was all while Kermit and Miss Piggy were no longer a couple anymore. And it was just stressful based upon that. I just feel bad for Kermit the Frog. Okay, Kermit the Frog deserves better. Like, I'm speaking in a realistic and a fictional sense. Kermit the Frog deserves better. For some reason, this past decade, the whole sipping the tea meme, like, is just, like, Kermit has nothing to do with that meme except that he's just drinking the tea. And, like, it could be anyone drinking tea, but it's just, they've based it off of Kermit, and it's a good meme, it's a funny meme, but the meme has nothing to do with Kermit. So, I'm sorry, Kermit deserves better.
Mallory, put it on the
poll.
Does Kermit the Frog deserve
all I know about the Muppets. Like, I've never seen this show before. That meme is the full extent of my knowledge about the show.
I had a couple of like Muppet CDs as a kid. One of them was like Muppets Unplugged, and it was Kermit and the other Muppets going around and playing with famous old musicians. And for some reason, there's a version of Born to Be Wild with Ozzy Osbourne, Animal, and Miss Piggy.
I will say they've done a couple good collaborations with the late night hosts. They did one recently with James Corden. They were singing With a Little Help from My Friends. And then the last episode, the last scene of Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, before Jimmy Fallon moved to The Tonight Show, was Jimmy Fallon and the Muppets singing The Wait by the band, which is a great song. But,
Piggy.
Yeah. The Muppets' biggest hit is actually a Christmas song, and it's John Denver and the Muppets singing the 12 Days of Christmas.
Have you ever
seen
the Muppet version of the Christmas of the Christmas Carol with Jacob and Bob Marley?
Yeah. Listen, the Muppets are a part of Americana. Like, that's all I got to say.
Peggy. That's a terrible Kermit, but Kermit is a little better.
I always thought the characters looked really scary. Like, Kermit seems like a G, but all the other ones probably would have terrified me as a small child.
Sesame Street characters.
Style. What are you talking about?
What?
Miss Piggy has great style.
Well,
She's
You
always
have Miss
stylish.
Vicky, who has great style. You have Fozzie Bear, who wears a hat.
And a tie. Don't forget his tie.
Yeah, and a tie. Yes, and a tie. You have Gonzo the Great, who is basically a less furry version of Grover, in my opinion. Yeah, I can go on and on. But the old men are the funniest part of that show. The old hecklers. Waldorf and I forget their names.
Miss Piggy.
Before my time.
No, it wasn't. The Muppets have. Here's the thing about the Muppets. They're not really in anyone's time. They just kind of go in and out. Like you'll remember that the Muppets are still around. Like when their next show comes up. So yes, the Muppets are not really anyone's time. They're just kind of a nonstop. We're gonna throw them at you and promote them for a couple of years, and then they'll go away, and then we're gonna throw them at you and promote them again. And they're like not really a kids show, but kind of a kids show. It's a very weird dynamic. But Mallory, did you watch the WNBA today? Guys, did you watch the WNBA today?
Caught about a minute. The Mercury were winning.
Mercury won. They beat Chicago, which was a big win. They're actually 4-2 now. They weren't 3-2. They were 3-2 after last game. I don't know why
I
Google.
saw what the Mercury posted, a funny meme.
But DT played well. Yeah, that's about all that I know. And
Yeah, I
Springer
didn't
played well,
watch
too.
today either because hockey has priority for me. But I did see the stat line from the New York Liberties game last night. And man, they're struggling without Sabrina. Kia Nurse was 3 for 16 from the field. I love Kia. Her brother Darnell's on the Oilers. He's having a tough series too. So they've got that in common in addition to their last name. But man, like
I feel like every athlete's sibling also plays professional sports.
yeah, they're in trouble.
It's all
They're
about
in trouble.
genes. It's literally all about genes. If you have athletic genes in your family, then you're probably going to be a professional athlete. I know that they tell us to work hard as kids, but hard work for the most people can probably just get you a nice D3 offer. Not saying
I don't think Phil Kessel is a professional athlete because of genes. Have you seen that guy?
Yeah, but
He's very skilled. Like he has the
some people
natural
that are
talent. For
smarter than
sure.
others at sports too. Like there's certain athletes that are smarter than others. Like not post playing career, he hasn't really shown it. But Paul Pierce, when he was playing, was a very smart player. He knew what he was doing. He made up for his lack of athleticism by just being a smart player. So yeah, I mean, it's either you have an extreme knowledge of the game that you just have a great IQ at the sport, or which is also probably kind of genetic, or you're just freakishly athletic because that's in your genes. Like I was watching the center fielder for the Marlins. His brother plays in the NBA. So it's just how it works. All right.
Alrighty, are we ready for polls? I have them queued
Oh
up.
yes, polls.
Is Shaq the best? 67% of respondents say no. Is Shaq retired from the game but not from being big? 80% of respondents say yes. Should one of the majors? Yeah, hashtag Buick. Should one of the majors be on a par 3 course? 57% of respondents say yes, it should. Does Tiger have them right where he wants them? 100% of respondents say yes. What does Jeremy do more? Sleep, watch YouTube videos, talk to his girlfriend. 40% of respondents say sleep. 40% of respondents say watch YouTube videos. 20% say talk to his girlfriend. Do non-golf fans like Top Golf and mini golf? 100% of respondents say no. Shake Milton going to surprise some people? 50-50.
100% say yes on the Top Golf.
What?
100% Top Golf and mini golf. Is Michael Jordan the woat of ownership? 75% of respondents, yes. What's better, the actual games or the Bubble Life Twitter account? 6-7% of respondents say Bubble Life. Better uniforms, Flames or Jets? This one has the most votes of all the polls. 83% of respondents say the Flames. Is J. Cole better than half the Pistons? 100% respondents say yes. Does Kermit deserve better? 100% respondents say yes.
All right. Well, tomorrow's show will be myself, Max Bechtold, and Jeremy Schnell. Make sure to follow us on Twitter @Y and then So Serious Show, and we will see you all again tomorrow.
we do have a special announcement.
What's the special announcement?
We're not going to say who it is yet, but we have a very special guest coming on the show next week. I am so excited.
There might not be a question who it is, though.
Take the hint as you want it. I think this is the most high-profile person we've had on the show. If you've seen me looking down on my phone and laughing during this show, it's because I'm watching some of his videos, and they are that funny. And so I am very excited. So stay tuned. Sometime next week, we will have this TikTok star / comedian on our show.
All right.
Yeah, and enjoy the fourth line tomorrow. Jesse, Jeremy, and Max.
Okay, cool, great.